Long before modern Europe existed, the land now called Denmark was covered with thick forests, cold rivers, and scattered tribes of fierce warriors. These early people lived by farming, fishing, and fighting. The sea shaped their lives, and from the sea came the greatest identity of Denmark, the Vikings. Around the 8th century, Danish Viking warriors began sailing across Europe in long wooden ships. Their ships were fast, narrow, and deadly. The Vikings attacked coastal villages, monasteries, and kingdoms. They were feared everywhere from England to France. The Danish Vikings were not only raiders. They were traders, explorers, and settlers. They sailed through dangerous oceans and rivers, reaching lands as far as Russia and even North America centuries before Columbus. One of the earliest powerful Danish kings was King Gorm the Old, who ruled in the 10th century. He is often called the first true king of Denmark. His son, Harald Bluetooth, united Denmark and helped spread Christianity across the kingdom. Harald Bluetooth became famous for building huge monuments and strengthening royal power. The modern Bluetooth technology is actually named after him because he united people just like the technology connects devices. During this era, Denmark became stronger and richer. Viking warriors from Denmark conquered parts of England and created powerful settlements there. Danish kings even ruled England for a short time. One of the greatest Danish rulers was King Knut the Great. In the 11th century, he ruled a massive empire including Denmark, England, and Norway. Under him, Denmark reached one of the highest points of power in its early history. But Viking life was harsh and violent. Battles between kings, tribal conflicts, and foreign wars weakened the kingdom. Gradually, Christianity replaced the old Viking gods like Odin and Thor. Churches rose where pagan temples once stood. By the end of the Viking Age, Denmark had transformed from a land of scattered tribes into an organized Christian kingdom. The age of the Vikings faded, but their legends would forever remain part of Danish identity. The world remembered the Vikings as fearless warriors of the north, and Denmark stood proudly at the center of that story. After the Viking Age ended, Denmark entered a new era. The kingdom slowly became more organized, more religious, and more connected to the rest of Europe. Churches replaced Viking temples, priests gained influence, and kings tried to build a stronger state. Christianity changed Danish society completely. Large stone churches and cathedrals were built across the land. The church became powerful, owning land and influencing politics. Latin learning and European culture spread into Denmark. But peace did not last long. Throughout the Middle Ages, Danish kings fought constantly for power. Noble families challenged the throne, and civil wars weakened the country. Some kings were assassinated, while others were overthrown by rival nobles. Despite internal struggles, Denmark remained an important northern kingdom because of its location. Whoever controlled Denmark also controlled important sea routes between the Baltic Sea and the North Sea. This made Danish kings wealthy through trade and taxes. In the 12th century, King Valdemar the Great restored stability after years of chaos. He defeated enemies, strengthened royal authority, and expanded Danish influence. Under him and his successors, Denmark became one of the strongest kingdoms in Northern Europe. The Danish kingdom expanded into areas around the Baltic Sea. Danish armies fought against pagan tribes in what are now parts of Germany and the Baltic region. Castles and fortresses were built to secure Danish control. Copenhagen also began rising during this period. What started as a small fishing village slowly became an important trading city. Over time, it would grow into the capital of Denmark. One of the most important moments came in 1397 with the creation of the Kalmar Union. Queen Margaret I united Denmark, Norway, and Sweden under one crown. This union created a massive Scandinavian power stretching across Northern Europe. Queen Margaret was one of the most remarkable rulers in European history. Through diplomacy, intelligence, and political skill, she managed to unite rival kingdoms that had fought for generations. However, the union was unstable. Swedish nobles often rebelled against Danish control. Tensions grew as Denmark tried to dominate the union politically and economically. At the same time, trade flourished. Danish merchants became rich through Baltic commerce. Towns expanded, markets grew, and Denmark became increasingly connected to European politics and economics. Yet beneath the surface, problems remained. Noble families wanted more power, Sweden demanded independence, and ordinary peasants faced heavy taxes and hardship. The medieval age transformed Denmark from a Viking warrior kingdom into a major Christian monarchy. But the struggle for power in Scandinavia was far from over. The 16th century brought major changes to Denmark. Religion, war, and political struggles reshaped the kingdom and changed the future of Scandinavia forever. At the beginning of this era, the Kalmar Union still existed on paper, linking Denmark, Norway, and Sweden under one crown. But in reality, the union was collapsing. Swedish nobles hated Danish dominance and repeatedly rebelled. The conflict finally exploded in violence. In 1520, Danish King Christian II tried to crush Swedish resistance. After capturing Stockholm, many Swedish nobles were executed in an event known as the Stockholm Bloodbath. Instead of ending rebellion, the massacre shocked Scandinavia and turned Sweden completely against Denmark. Soon after, Sweden broke away from a union under Gustav Vasa. The Kalmar Union collapsed, ending Denmark's dream of controlling all Scandinavia. At the same time, another revolution was spreading across Europe, the Protestant Reformation. Inspired by Martin Luther in Germany, Protestant ideas spread rapidly into Denmark. Many Danes opposed the wealth and power of the Catholic Church. In the 1530s, Denmark officially became a Protestant kingdom. Church lands were seized by the crown, monasteries were closed, and Lutheran Christianity became the state religion. This greatly strengthened the Danish monarchy because the king now controlled former church wealth and influence. Under King Christian IV, Denmark entered a golden period during the early 17th century. Christian IV became one of Denmark's most famous rulers. He built castles, expanded trade, strengthened the navy, and improved cities. Many famous buildings in Copenhagen were constructed during his reign. He dreamed of making Denmark the leading power of Northern Europe. But his ambitions led Denmark into devastating wars. During the 30 Years' War, one of Europe's deadliest conflicts, Denmark fought against powerful enemies within the Holy Roman Empire. The war ended badly for Denmark, weakening its military and economy. Then came an even greater rival, Sweden. Throughout the 17th century, Denmark and Sweden fought brutal wars for control of Scandinavia and the Baltic Sea. Sweden emerged as a powerful military empire and defeated Denmark several times. One of Denmark's greatest disasters came in 1658 when Swedish King Charles X invaded Danish territory. Swedish forces marched across frozen seas during a harsh winter and threatened Copenhagen itself. Denmark was forced to sign humiliating peace treaties, losing major territories including Scania, Halland, and Bleking, lands that today belong to Sweden. These losses permanently weakened Denmark and changed the map of Scandinavia forever. Despite defeat, Denmark survived by rebuilding its economy and strengthening its government. Trade remained important, and Copenhagen continued growing as a cultural and political center. The old dream of Scandinavian unity had died, but Denmark remained an important European kingdom determined to protect its independence in a dangerous age of war. By the 18th century, Denmark was no longer the dominant military power of Scandinavia. After repeated wars with Sweden, the kingdom focused more on trade, administration, and overseas expansion. Even though Denmark had lost territory in Scandinavia, it still controlled a large kingdom together with Norway. The Danish king ruled both lands from Copenhagen, and the union lasted for centuries. During this time, Denmark also built a small colonial empire. Danish traders established colonies in parts of India, Africa, and the Caribbean. Danish ships carried goods such as sugar, spices, and textiles across the oceans. Like many European powers of the time, Denmark became involved in the slave trade. Enslaved Africans were transported to Danish colonies in the Caribbean to work on plantations. Although Denmark later became one of the first European countries to ban the transatlantic slave trade, this dark chapter remained part of its history. Inside the kingdom, life slowly improved for some people. Agriculture developed, trade expanded, and education spread. Enlightenment ideas from Europe influenced Danish thinkers and rulers. But Europe was about to enter chaos. The rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and the Napoleonic Wars changed the fate of Denmark forever. At first, Denmark tried to remain neutral while Britain and France fought for control of Europe. However, Denmark possessed a strong navy, and Britain feared that Napoleon might gain control of it. In 1801, and again in 1807, British forces attacked Copenhagen. The second attack was especially devastating. British warships bombarded the Danish capital heavily, causing destruction and civilian deaths before seizing the Danish fleet. After the attack, Denmark sided with Napoleon. This decision proved disastrous when Napoleon was eventually defeated. In 1814, Denmark was forced to sign the Treaty of Kiel. As punishment for supporting Napoleon, Denmark had to surrender Norway to Sweden after more than 400 years of union. The loss shocked the Danish kingdom deeply. Norway had been a major part of Danish power and identity for centuries. Losing it reduced Denmark from a large regional kingdom into a much smaller state. The 19th century became a difficult period of rebuilding and national crisis. At the same time, nationalism was rising across Europe. Questions about language, culture, and borders created tensions inside the Danish monarchy, especially in the duchies of Schleswig and Holstein near Germany. Conflict with German states eventually led to war. In 1864, Denmark fought the Second Schleswig War against Prussia and Austria. Denmark was badly defeated and lost Schleswig and Holstein. This defeat was devastating. Denmark lost a large part of its territory and population. Many Danes believed the country would never recover. But out of defeat came transformation. Instead of seeking military power, Denmark focused on education, democracy, farming, and social reform. The country slowly began building the peaceful and modern society for which it would later become famous. After the painful defeat of 1864, Denmark changed its direction completely. Instead of trying to be a military power, it focused on becoming a modern, educated, and democratic nation. The loss of territory to Prussia and Austria forced Denmark to rethink its identity. Leaders believed that the country could no longer survive through war, so they focused on internal development. During the late 19th century, Denmark became known for agricultural reform. Farmers organized cooperatives sharing tools, resources, and profits. This made Danish farming more efficient and successful, especially in dairy and pork production. Education also improved. Schools expanded, literacy increased, and political awareness grew among ordinary citizens. Denmark slowly moved toward a more democratic system, reducing the power of the monarchy. By the early 20th century, Denmark had become a constitutional monarchy with a strong parliament. The king still existed, but real political power belonged to elected representatives. When World War I began in 1914, Denmark chose neutrality. It avoided direct involvement in the fighting, which helped protect the country from destruction. After the war, a major event changed Denmark's map peacefully. In 1920, following a referendum, the northern part of Schleswig voted to rejoin Denmark. This restored some territory lost in 1864 and was a rare peaceful border change in European history. But peace in Europe did not last. In 1939, World War II began. Denmark again declared neutrality, hoping to avoid another conflict. However, in 1940, Nazi Germany invaded and occupied Denmark within just a few hours. The Danish government initially cooperated under occupation to protect civilians. But resistance movements soon formed across the country. Ordinary Danes helped Jews escape to neutral Sweden across the sea, saving thousands of lives. One of the most remarkable stories of the occupation was how Denmark protected most of its Jewish population compared to other Nazi-occupied countries in Europe. As the war continued, resistance grew stronger. Sabotage operations, underground newspapers, and secret networks challenged German control. Finally, in 1945, Germany surrendered and Denmark was liberated. After World War II, Denmark emerged as a stable democracy and began rebuilding its economy. It joined international organizations and strengthened cooperation with other European nations. The country had survived centuries of wars, losses, and political change. Now it was entering a new era of peace, stability, and modern development. After World War II, Denmark entered a completely new phase of history. The country focused on rebuilding, stability, and creating one of the strongest social systems in the world. Denmark quickly developed into a welfare state. The government introduced free healthcare, strong public education, unemployment support, and pensions for elderly citizens. The idea was simple. No one should be left behind. During the Cold War, Denmark joined Western alliances to ensure its security. In 1949, it became a founding member of NATO alongside countries like the United States and United Kingdom. This marked a major shift from neutrality to collective defense. Economically, Denmark modernized rapidly. Industry, technology, and shipping expanded. Copenhagen became an important European business and cultural center. At the same time, Denmark strengthened its democratic traditions. The monarchy remained, but only as a symbolic institution. Real power stayed with elected governments and parliament. In 1973, Denmark joined the European Economic Community, now the European Union. This helped improve trade and cooperation with other European countries, especially Germany and other neighbors. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Denmark became known for innovation, renewable energy, and high quality of life. Wind energy technology, in particular, made Denmark a global leader in clean energy development. Danish society also became famous for its strong social trust, low corruption, and emphasis on equality. Education remained free, and citizens enjoyed one of the highest standards of living in the world. Copenhagen grew into a modern global city, known for architecture, cycling culture, and environmental planning. Denmark also became active in international peacekeeping and humanitarian missions. Today, Denmark is a small but highly influential country. It plays a role in global diplomacy, environmental leadership, and European politics. Despite its size, it continues to have a strong voice on the world stage. From Viking warriors and medieval kings to a peaceful modern welfare state, Denmark's history is a story of transformation, survival, and adaptation across more than 1,000 years.
Enjoyed the video? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories and videos every day. Your support keeps the channel alive and motivates us to create even better content.